welcome to episode 3 of the Team Venom Comics show. I'm your co-host, Rory Bailey, joined by the favourite, the Big Daddy Purge, the other co-host in the Seaman, Connor Franks. How's it going, man?
Yeah, Seaman. Hi.
I got you 2 complimentary ones in there, then slid that one in.
Look, if I had $1 every time you slid Seaman in me, it would be baffling.
I know you, $10.
Yeah, this week.
Mentally.
Yeah.
You're on the way to this show starting.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So this week we're going to be talking about Ultimate Comics because, you know, we did say we were going to cover comic book news and certain topics and stuff depending on what there was. Comic book news, there's not really a lot going because we've sort of covered the major comic book news over the last couple of weeks, which is just Spider-Man being great. So there's not a lot that's actually out there that's pulled me towards it. So I don't particularly have any comic book news to discuss. So our main topic is Ultimate Comics because they're great. And
they are great.
Well, they were great to a point until Marvel rebooted the Ultimate, then went all silly with it. But the first run, which was our favorite run of comics, basically, when we've had conversations about this in the past, it's like we both sort of circle back to the same favorite era of comics, which is Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men back before they did Ultimatum.
Yes, the way they've done the Ultimates now, I think the best way to compare it would be our favorite run of the Ultimate or the Ultimate series would be like the 90s animated Marvel shows.
Yeah.
And then what they've done now is like Teen Titans on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Like that's
sort of how they jumped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So obviously we were both big fans of the Brian Michael Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man run, which can happily show my copy of issue 1 and your copy of issue 1.
Right back at you, yes.
As they would say in the Brady Bunch and also Scrubs, no. Which we're also going to do with that El Hombre Indestructible pop at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is. I mean, this at one point was a ridiculously valuable comic to get. This is the free comic book day version of Ultimate Spider-Man. I can remember I used to have Wizard magazine, and that used to have it listed as like $200 or $300 at that point, because Wizard was American, so they had no pounds equivalent. But this, I think I picked mine up for something stupid like £10 on eBay. And then I picked one up for you as well for about the same, and was just like, yep, no, 2 people have foolishly listed it for a tenner. I'm buying both of them, and one's going to York. so yeah, that's basically what happened with that. And it was a very worthwhile purchase because it's just a great thing to have. The first issue of any series, especially one that we both love so much because we both collected loads of the trades and read all those versions and stuff. So, but anyway,
I mean, on the topic of Ultimates, I think we've got to ask the obvious questions. I mean, we already know each other's answers, but for the benefit of those at home, favorite Ultimate run, whether it's Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, etc. And favorite Ultimate villain, because the villains always were a bit different in the Ultimates.
So yeah, it's that favorite Ultimate run's a difficult question because Ultimate Spider-Man had such a great run. They had Mark Bagley and Brian Michael Bendis beat Stan Lee's record for most consecutive issues. And they did something like 129 issues in a row. And the whole thing was just gold from start to finish. Whereas Ultimate X-Men had some really good storylines in there, but also had some really terrible ones. Like we've discussed on previous podcasts of the X-Men podcast that we do, where I've mentioned how they just went, you know what, everyone's into drugs now and stuff like that, which, so I'd say Ultimate Spider-Man's probably the best title for me. But Ultimate X-Men's close sort of thing, but it's just certain story arcs in there make it fall short.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Ultimate Spider-Man is the best around.
Consistently, yeah.
Like it had eras where like the stories lulled. Like they weren't bad, but they were just they just sort of
they went middle ground, didn't they? They were like, this one,
a lot of them
he's
going
dealing
up,
with a street thug for 6 issues or whatever.
Yeah, and then they sort of just pondered along. But in fairness, I also liked that because like he was dealing with just street crime for like 6 or 7 issues, but then it's like, well, Ultimate Spider-Man was like a continuous thing of Spider-Man's life as Spider-Man in the run. So he's not going to have a supervillain every fucking day.
Yeah.
So
some issues were just literally dealing with him breaking up with MJ. I remember reading those and they were great.
Yeah.
Like he went to a random party and she was there but going through a goth phase for some reason and all stuff like that. I remember this shit really well because I remember reading it thinking, it's unusual to have hit this. And then the next issue was Clone Saga.
It's just dawned on me. So we've just had No Way Home, obviously opened the multiverse up. So in Ultimate Spider-Man, MJ went through a little goth phase. Yeah. The exact same thing happened in Sam Raimi's universe, but led to Bully Maguire.
Yes.
There you go.
Bully Maguire. Sorry, I have to do the dance every time. Which probably won't have even picked it up on it because I wasn't speaking.
The clap might have done it. The clap might have done it.
Hopefully the clap will have done it. If not, then viewers, you missed out on a treat, and I'll just have to like film myself doing that later at a different date and put it in post.
Just like really out of context as well.
Yeah, literally, I'll leave a suit shop and everything. Like,
just like here's a word from our sponsor. It's just you, just
bullying it up in my all black suit, which I have got one of. I'm pretty sure I've told you this before. I went and saw that with who's obviously now an ex because I've been single for years. But I went and saw that with an ex like when it first came out of the cinema, and all the way through it, she was going, I swear he's turning into you when he was turning evil. I'm like, so you're saying I'm like the evil shit Spider-Man? Like, and then he walked out in his black suit and she's like, oh God, he's wearing the same clothes as you right now. I was like, oh yeah. I came straight from work, to be fair. I used to wear a suit for work for my job back then, but it was jet black and it was like, yep. And she was going, he's even freaking dancing like he's like, yeah, I know. Fun times. Did you just hear that random scurrying noise? My cat decided to just leg it from one side of the room to the other as fast as he possibly can and knocked over everything in the process.
All right, okay. Well,
just randomly. So
fair enough.
He's obviously not getting enough attention. So
cats are dicks, people.
Cats are dicks.
Cats are dicks. I don't care if you're a dog person or a cat person. Cats are fucking knobs. You have to agree with that. I have a cat. Oh yeah,
I have one. He's a dick.
She's asleep on the sofa, on the bed, looking all innocent. But I guarantee the minute it wakes up, it's going to turn to an absolute knobhead.
Well, it's like before we started recording, it took 10 minutes for me to actually be able to start recording because the cat had decided he was going to try and attack the camera non-stop. So cats are dicks.
Cats are dicks. Comics.
But yeah, comics. Thwip. Oh dear. So Ultimate Spider-Man. I mean,
favorite villain.
Yeah. It's difficult because I loved the way he was wrote, but I didn't like his appearance. So I'm going to say Ultimate Norman Osborn, but not Ultimate Green Goblin. Ultimate Norman Osborn I liked. And I liked how the Green Goblin was right. It's just that he went next level in terms of Hulk size and everything. And yeah.
See, mine's tied. Mine's tied between Ultimate Rhino.
Ultimate Rhino was great.
And Ultimate Venom.
Ultimate Venom was great as well. Although that was
anti-hero, you can make the argument, but Ultimate Venom was.
Well, no, he never went anti-hero, did he, on that one? But you've got the bonus of that whole story arc for the video game that just wasn't in anything else.
That was a great video game.
It was.
Yeah, but I liked how Eddie Brock. Oh, the cat's awake. It heard. Told you.
It's because you heard you call him a dick.
You're a dick.
Actually, that sounded like he was telling you to fuck off.
Go away.
really hope Zoom's picked up all that cat audio.
Nothing happened. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I like Venom, and I liked how they did Eddie Brock in it.
Yeah, with being the childhood friend that was spurned because of the dad's research and stuff. Yeah, I love that.
I liked all that, and plus Eddie Brock sort of was still not 100% wanting to be Venom in that, which I liked.
Yeah,
but Rhino. Especially, I think the Rhino thing comes from how dirty he was done in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah,
as well. So that was upsetting. I think, yeah, between the two, gun to my head, I think I'll say Rhino.
Fair enough. Yeah, just touching on the Norman Osborn thing again, because one thing that I didn't mention was when the Ultimates universe started, it was very much around the same sort of time as the first Spider-Man film. So they were writing him very much in line with the Sam Raimi Norman Osborn in terms of his personality and everything. So we both agreed that Willem Dafoe was awesome. So I think that's why I prefer the Ultimate version of Norman Osborn to the main comics version. Because, I mean, the main comics version is just a complete bastard. And the Ultimate one is, he's actually got the psychosis thing like what Willem Dafoe was going for. So I preferred how they wrote it that way. I'll just make that in there.
Willem Dafoe was just, he's
great.
He stole the show, man.
Yeah.
In a show that involved Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire returning, Willem Dafoe's performance stole it. Like, that's mental.
Yeah. Well, also, because I've just mentioned the Spider-Man films and stuff coming out at the same time. One of the things that I know when we did a podcast about a year ago about Ultimate Comics on our Talking Comics show, which was on Spotify. And one of the things that you brought up was how there was the whole story arc with Doc Ock where he got out of prison and wanted to go and invade the film set because they were making a Spider-Man film that was Doc Ock versus Spider-Man. And they even reference that they hint that it's Tobey Maguire, they hint that it's Alfred Molina. I can't remember what the lines are, but they basically say, oh yeah, loved you in such and such or whatever. And so they do that, and then they have Sam Raimi on set filming everything, and they call him Sam as well, don't they?
Yeah.
So they have him on set filming everything while Doc Ock and the Ultimate Doc Ock and Ultimate Spider-Man are having a genuine battle. So it's hinted at that according to the Ultimate Comics, if you watch Spider-Man 2, that whole Spider-Man Doc Ock fight scene is a legit one from the point of view of the comic books, which is pretty awesome.
And by that logic, we all live in the same universe as the Ultimates.
True. Can't argue with that logic. But
speaking of Ultimate Spider-Man, though, this beauty here, I think it's time we go to Comic of the Week.
Yes, let's go to Comic of the Week.
So keeping on track with this week's theme, the comic of the week this week is The Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1. You'll have heard me and Rory talk about how much we love the Ultimate Universe and how much I love Ultimate Spider-Man. So this one had to be done. Me and Rory both own issue 1 of this, so we've probably already shown it off. If not, we will after this. Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1, it is your classic Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man story. You've got the Spider in the lab, a lot of character building. If anything, even if you don't like the cliche how he becomes Spider-Man story, this comic especially, see if I can find some, it's honestly worth picking up purely for nostalgia because of the classic adverts that are in here, including advertising the first Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 1. This is the perfect introduction to Spider-Man. in my eyes because it's from the perfect Spider-Man universe, with the story in issue 1 itself being Peter Parker getting bit and then adjusting to powers. There's not a whole lot I can say except if you haven't got it already, go buy it to have the ultimate experience.
Okay, so that was comic of the week. So ultimate choice there, Connor.
Thanks. I put a lot of thought into this.
I could tell.
Yeah.
I could tell. Now, there's a lot of things to like about Ultimate Spider-Man, but there's also some cool stuff that happened with the other Ultimate series. One of the things that I've got to hand is the graphic novel of the Ultimates Volume 1. There's lots of good stuff, lots of bad stuff in there as well. There's some terrible things that happen in here, like Hank Pym literally beating the ever-loving crap out of the Wasp, which you can see there. Look at them go. that's one of the low points of the series, but one of the very high points of the series is that they go for they totally fan cast Nick Fury as Samuel L. Jackson, and even have a scene where Nick Fury points at his face in here and says the only person that can play him is Samuel L. Jackson, which is amazing. So I'm going to quickly try and find that because I do love that scene. They might not be in this, it might be in Volume 2, but they're basically talking about movie rights and like, yes, no one else.
I remember being so confused when Sam Jackson appeared in the end credits of Iron Man.
Yes.
Yeah, and was like, I'm Nick Fury. Because at that point, 2008? Yeah. At that point, I was like 12, which is mental.
Nice.
So the only Nick Fury I knew was your classic, like, military man, grey-haired, that. And it was like, my name's Nick Fury. And I was like, is it?
Is it really?
Is it?
Yeah. Whereas, in Ultimates, here we go. There's a little bit so you can see the likeness. And then this is the whole conversation, dinner time conversation where they're talking about who they want to play them in the movies. I don't know how clear that's going to be, but he's basically saying about how Samuel L. Jackson's the only person that can play him. And this came out a good, like, let's have a look. Where's the copyright thing? 2002. So 6 years before Samuel L. Jackson appeared in Iron Man. That's some great foreshadowing.
That is very good foreshadowing.
Apparently, Samuel L. Jackson said in an interview since that he picked up that comic and just looked at it and was like, brilliant, I can't wait for my check. Just waited for them to call and ask him to play the role, which I thought was awesome. So, yeah. But there's other cool stuff in there as well. Obviously, there's the Ultimate X-Men and such, which with that, because we haven't talked about Ultimate X-Men much, let's go to our collectible hunting video, where that's pretty much all I talk about.
Hi folks, Rory here, and welcome to this week's edition of Collectible Hunting. A little bit different to normal because usually it's whatever me or Connor or whoever has been picking up during the week. However, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've been picking up over the last year because of the episode's theme, which is the Ultimate Comics. So essentially you'll have seen one of the cool things, which is Ultimate X-Men issue 1 here. This is the free comic book day edition. At one point these were worth hundreds. Fun fact, I once picked one up at a car boot for £1 and virtually did a cartwheel and a proper version of issue 1, which at the time was worth £2,000. I had a look on eBay, £2,000, and was all excited, flicked through the book, and someone had cut out the last page where they'd just taken panels off, and yeah, it was heartbreaking. But anyway, comics, I digress. So it's only one set of stuff that I'm going to showcase, which is essentially these, and this is almost the complete run of Ultimate X-Men. So we've got the Ultimate Collections, which I've got books 1, 2 and 3 of those, and they include volumes 1 to 6 in total. And then of the individual graphic novels, I've got Number 7, which is Blockbuster and involved Spider-Man and Daredevil. 8, which is New Mutants. 9, which is The Tempest, which is Mr. Sinister, if memory serves. Yeah, Sinister. Just a quick look at the back. Cry Wolf, which is when Gambit comes to kidnap Rogue. So that's volume 10. Volume 11, Most Dangerous Game, which is Mojo and Longshot. Volume 12, Hard Lessons, which is after Beast has died and Storm and Wolverine are going and sort of dating but not dating and things like that, and you get a bit of backstory into like Ultimate Rogue. I'm not going to go into that because it's quite grim. So that's volume 12. Then I've missed volume 13, so that's one of the few that I'm missing. And we've got volume 14, which is Phoenix, which they've hinted at the Phoenix Force since the second volume, I think, of the series. Then we've got volume 15, which is Magical, which is a mutant that can affect reality and people's perceptions and basically makes his way onto the team and then gets thrown off. Volume 16, which is Cable, and that's ridiculously awesome. It's also written by Robert Kirkman, if memory serves. Yeah, Robert Kirkman, who was the writer of Walking Dead and Marvel Zombies and such. And the Ultimate Cable, as you can see on the cover there, it differs from the main Cable because the main Cable was the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey. This Cable is essentially Wolverine in the future, but without a healing factor and with a robot arm, which is always fun. I'm missing volume 17, which is the, I believe it's called Sentinels, and is the fallout from Cable, which leads directly into 18, which is Apocalypse. As you can see, we've got a fully Phoenix Jean Grey at the top, we've got Apocalypse on the front, we've got Ultimate Onslaught there, normal Wolverine, but it also introduces Ultimate Strife. In fact, there is the page. So you get like a page where it's basically the ultimate equivalent of Onslaught and Strife, although it's actually neither of those characters because Ultimates. And you know how they sort of like to modernise fresh takes on older characters. Ultimate X-Men is one of my all-time favourite graphic novel runs, and comic book runs in general, and so that's one of the things I've been gradually seeking out over the last year or so, mainly since the pandemic started. That's the stuff I've been hunting on eBay. As you've seen on previous comic book hunting videos, if you've been following them on the channel over the last year, you'll have seen me with a pile of them and things like that. So yeah, anyway, that's the collectible hunting segment for this week. Let's head back to myself and Connor with the main show.
Did you like my haul there, Connor?
I thought it was offensive and I'm disgusted that was shown.
Well, you're not wrong.
Look behind the curtain, guys. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm probably wrong unless the video starts with him in a white hood.
No. Oh dear.
God.
Yeah,
Ultimate DC instead of Red Hood, it's White Hood. He's like,
and he's a black guy under the mask.
He's a villain hunting Batman for the wrong reasons.
Oh no, that's some comic book news that I could have led with earlier. They've
Red Hood
a mural has appeared. Have you seen the thing that's came where it's for the new Flash movie, and it's basically an image has come up and it's a mural that's being used for a wall in Gotham City, and it's got Michael Keaton's Batman with a Robin next to him, thus confirming that at some point Keaton has his own Robin. So
I'm more upset that
whether that'll be in the film or not,
I'm more upset they're doing a Flash movie.
Yeah, it's weird that that's the way that they're bringing Batman into it, but it also sort of makes sense because Batman's got no superpowers. So it's like the only way they could do a cross realities thing is using the one Justice League character that's got those sorts of powers.
But like, who?
But they don't need to do a crossover. I mean, they could have just gone, you know what, Keaton, we're going to let you do a new Batman film where you're just old. Sand. Done. Just that would have been fine.
I just like the Flash. I'm sorry, but for the villains in the Flash are like okay because they're against the Flash, but like, they won't work anywhere else. But they're pretty shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but Gorilla Grodd, go fuck yourself.
The worst thing about the Flash villains is that in the very first season of the Flash TV show, they showed that Green Arrow, who's a guy with a bow and arrow, could be any Flash villain.
Yeah.
because they had like that whole thing of Barry Allen's the fastest man alive, and he's just got fighting loads of speedsters and stuff. And then they have it where he's going after Green Arrow. Green Arrow like gets him in both his legs and everything, and just properly takes him down as like some training exercise just to show that he can. Like, well, if he can do that to the Flash, he can do it to the Reverse Flash, and he can do it to Zoom or whatever, because the Flash is faster than any of those.
Yeah.
So logically, fuck them.
Plus, like for a lot of the Flash's villains, it's just Flash who has super speed versus insert villain with super speed.
Yeah, that's all they've done for the show.
Yeah, which has
the whole opening bullshit of "I'm the fastest man alive until this week."
Yeah, which is why like I have the same issue with the Venom films.
Yeah,
in comics, you can divert the narrative of them being the same because it's a comic, so you've got a whole run to do things with. In a movie or a show, you're limited. So like Venom 1 was just symbiote versus symbiote, which were practically identical. And then now you've just got Venom 2, which is symbiote versus symbiote, which is just Carnage.
The same idea as the first film.
Yeah, he's just got a bit more attack, and yet still ends up fucking losing.
Yeah,
so it's like
they've done that sort of thing with comic book movies for years, and it's always annoying to the point where it's now just become like one of those go-to comic book lazy writing tropes, isn't it? Where we're like, right, we're going to make the villain the same as the hero. Like Ant-Man, they did it, and Iron Man was someone doing the Iron Man suits. But done right, it makes sense. Like for the first Avenger, Captain America, it made sense in the Red Skull that it was also a super soldier. And you could sort of justify how they did that. And the Iron Man films, you could justify it because it was the whole thing of people stealing his stuff. So it made sense for him to go after him. That's sort of okay. Ant-Man was just, we're going to make you shrink because someone else can shrink now, and we don't like that he can shrink before we've given it on to somebody else to shrink.
The thing is with the Iron Man, though, it worked because in the first one, there was
no superpowers.
No, it's like the first one, obviously, he made that massive chunky suit to get out of the cave thing. And then,
which Stain stole.
Yeah, which then, corrupt company leader thought he was dead, then tries to copy his shit. It's not as good. He loses. Number 2 was Angry Scarred Man with BDSM fetish, wants to kill Tony because Tony's responsible for his dad dying, basically.
Yeah.
And then just so happens that
someone else is trying to do
that's somebody,
the answer to Iron Man. That's the military contracts.
Yeah, that someone with money wants to beat Stark Enterprises or Industries, whatever it's called. So then he's like, right, you come here. Here's my money to build these things. You build them.
Well, and here's your bird.
Yes.
This is not my bird.
My bird. And then 3 was just a case.
Come on, it's a bird, isn't it?
Yeah. And then 3 was just a case of he needed that.
Well, they didn't go against other Iron Man suits, did they, in 3?
No.
So there was lots of Iron Man suits used, but the villain wasn't an Iron Man suit, so that was fair enough.
Yeah, which was good, and it worked. It was nice.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like that worked. For first films, I can accept it. Like the first Ant-Man, fair enough.
Yeah.
The first Captain America made sense.
Yeah.
Because although Red Skull was basically a super soldier, it was like to an extreme.
Yeah, because it was set during the war, and it was like he's literally the answer to Captain America was the answer to the Red Skull. So, like, yeah, fair enough. You can accept that.
Yeah, like that worked. But then when you get things like Venom, which is just copy and paste who he's fighting, even in the comics, I'm not a fan of the Venom comics.
I like some of them. It depends on which one we talk about.
Like, if put Venom against like Kraven, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Venom Spider-Man is interesting. As long as the first time Carnage was introduced against Venom in the comics was great.
Yeah.
Other than that,
they rely on it too much.
Yes, and other than that, really, put Venom against someone with different abilities, and it's money.
Yeah.
Put him against someone like him, and obviously different strokes for different folks is personal preference. I find it boring because I've read that much of it to this point. Which, don't get me wrong, if I hadn't have read so many fucking Venom comics over the years, and then I watched Venom 1 and 2, I'd have probably fucking loved it.
Yeah.
But because of, like I say, personal preference and because of how much I've read the comics and stuff, I'm already bored of symbiote versus symbiote. I'm bored of it in the comics.
Yeah.
If I go to Traveling Man and I see a Venom comic and I open it up and see that it's Venom versus Carnage, Venom versus Toxin, Venom versus insert symbiote, I'm not going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Venom versus anybody, I'll pick it up.
Well, it's like the Donny Cates' run on Venom was pretty decent, but also suffered from the thing of them going, right, we're going to do 2 big events that tie in various things. One was Absolute Carnage, which wasn't needed. And the other was King in Black, which, to be fair, King in Black was awesome, but that was overuse of symbiotes to finish the run off. And it was basically, yeah, this guy's like a next level version of Carnage. Like, we've just done that. You've literally done Absolute Carnage 6 months before or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And they sort of, in the gap between them, they had Venom go to an alternate universe where Eddie Brock was dead, but Anne was Venom in that universe. And yeah, they just lent very heavily into the symbiote versus symbiote thing. And from that point, it's like, I can't tell you exactly what happens in them, even though I've read them. It does tie in with the theme of this because the person that got him there was Ultimate Reed Richards, who is still floating around as the maker in the main continuity following Secret Wars. But yeah, it was weird. And the first 2 or 3 volumes of that book are really good. And like the first volume, they use symbiotes to show that there was a different version of them in the Marvel universe before Venom, and go like, yeah, they were weaponized basically in the past. You know, you can sort of accept that, but it's still a crutch that they rely on too much. And like you say, with the films, it's like if they'd have built to Carnage and Carnage would say, you mean Carnage as the second film would have still worked if the first villain wasn't Riot.
Yeah.
And Riot was doing all the Carnage tricks. He had the axe hands and everything, and all the stuff that you expect to see from Carnage, Riot did. So, like you say, why would we care for it 2 years later?
Exactly.
So,
comics.
Comics. So, whereas Ultimates did a really good job of modernizing all of the villains that any of the teams faced. So, even Fantastic Four, like the villains that they used throughout there were great. So they had the Frightful Four and everything like that, but the Frightful Four was the zombified version of Fantastic Four, which led to the wonderful Marvel Zombie series. They had things like the Skrulls. When the Skrulls appeared, they gave everyone on Earth a drug that gave them superpowers, and the only person that didn't take the drug was Ben Grimm. So it all ends up with like virtually all these Skrulls, all their powers comes from superpowers, and the suits that they're wearing, that the Skrulls were wearing, was taking the powers off these ones. This sounds very convoluted, but it's actually a really good book. And they end up with Ben Grimm walking up to the leader of the Skrulls as the only human left alive. And he has to do some time travel shit to save the day, but he's the only human left alive at this point, and completely human, and just walks up to the main Skrull, and the main Skrull's like, what do you hope to accomplish with me? And he's like, oh, your powers are based on your nearby superheroes. He's like, yeah. Well, they're all dead now, aren't they? I'm the only person left. Like, yeah. So what do you think is going to happen against someone who wants to give you an ass kicking? And then just clocks him as hard as he can and yells, it's clobbering time. And just, it's great. But the Ultimate Fantastic Four I've never really cared for Fantastic Four comics, but the Ultimate Fantastic Four I quite enjoyed. If that makes sense.
Ultimate Fantastic Four, to be fair, doesn't get a lot of love. If you bring up Ultimates, the conversation is very strong. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, or the Ultimate comic run. But Ultimate Fantastic Four was good. I'm not gonna lie, it was the weaker of the bunch, but it was still enjoyable. It's still some decent stories and some like mental.
There was some mental plot twists. So the fact that the Ultimate Reed Richards is still floating around as a villain is, but like a villain that's 2,000 years old or something stupid like that now. So it's it's mad. That's how dirty they did the Ultimate Reed Richards. They went, you know what? We're going to have him just sort of outlast everyone and then come back in time to save something or other, but be completely batshit crazy while still being the smartest person on the world. Like, okay. No more Ultimate Comics to read at this point. That was literally just after Ultimatum, where Ultimatum they did the thing of fucking over everybody. I hate Ultimatum so much.
I do too.
And that's about. And the thing is, it's not. The thing is, it's written by Jeff Loeb, and Jeff Loeb's such a good writer on other things. And to be fair, I don't think his writing's the problem here. I think it's more of he's writing. He's got his story and it's good, and then it's like editorial have said, yeah, now Wasps needs to be dead by being eaten, right? And Wolverine's got to be obliterated by a repulsor ray from Iron Man. Even though when we had Ultimate War, Iron Man shot him a bunch of times and he was absolutely fine. But one repulsor ray beam is going to obliterate him, even though it's the same suit. And Xavier and Magneto are going to both die. And yeah, it's just silly. It was like they just literally wanted to neuter everything related to the Ultimates, especially Ultimate X-Men and Fantastic Four. But at the time when they did Ultimatum, Ultimate X-Men and Fantastic Four had been doing really well, but Marvel were having a dispute with Fox.
Yeah.
Because Fox had got the cinema rights and Fox got the vast majority of the profits from those lines. Spider-Man, I know obviously Sony would get a large share of it, but as we've seen by what's happened in the last decade with Spider-Man movies, Marvel and Sony have a fairly decent relationship at times. Sometimes the relationship's been put to the test, what with all the stuff that came out the other year. But the fact is, initially, when they did the Avengers film, they were originally going to include something that hinted at Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in the post-credit scene. And then in the post-credit scene of Iron Man, they were going to hint at it. And then by the time they got around to doing the Avengers, Oscorp was going to be in the cinema in the New York landscape, and it was going to be the Oscorp from the Amazing Spider-Man films. But for one reason or another, it never came to fruition. But there were talks at all those points to include Spider-Man in the Marvel universe since it was being conceived. Whereas Fox just basically did whatever the fuck they wanted. So they were doing the hatchet job of a lot of titles. So the main Fantastic Four series ended 3 years after Ultimatum. And Ultimatum wiped out the Ultimate Fantastic Four. It wiped out the Ultimate X-Men to the point where I think Jean Grey, Kitty Pryde, and Iceman were like the last three ones left. But we did get that really good run in Ultimate Spider-Man where, because they were the only ones left, following Ultimatum, you had Bobby Drake and Johnny Storm moving in with Pete, which was great. And I've talked for a while, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I can listen to you talk about comics for ages. Yeah, I liked the dynamic between Johnny Storm and Peter Parker.
Yes.
Because when they were together, they were just absolute fucking children. Like us,
yes.
Really, if we're honest.
Yeah, it was great.
it's just, yeah, it's nice. You hit the nail on the head. To be fair, you've covered enough in that I can't really add to it.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But no, like you said with the Ultimates, that was terrible. I hated it too. But you know what I don't hate?
What's that?
The Overwatch Ultimate Sombra figure, which is our collectible corner, and we'll go to that right now.
Thwip.
This week's Collectible Corner is on the Overwatch Ultimate Sombra. This beautiful figure of Sombra from the Overwatch Ultimate Collection is a must-have for any fan of the game. There's also an entire franchise behind it. If you've never played the game, played the comics, this is still for you. A stunning face mold, which comes with a very accurate representation of the things she wears in her gear, is a must-have. It's got very good joint manipulation, not to mention it comes with a new pair of hands to put on, a gun and a frisbee thing. This is a must-have.
Nice review there, dude. Like the new format of how you were doing that and changing the angles and showing off the figure in different ways to how you were doing last week. So,
well, I just figured because last week when we was talking about it, you was like, "Do you want to send a clip, or shall I just use the one from your channel?" And I was like, "Just take my intro and use that." So I figured if I do this, it's like what 40 seconds to a minute long.
Yeah.
It shows the figure off with a little voiceover. Just looks a bit nicer for this kind of show, really. If it was my channel, I can hold the camera up and I can just waffle.
Yeah.
But for this kind of thing, it's just a nice little.
Well, it's a nice little advertisement for your channel, which, by the way, folks, if you're watching at home, is Connor's Games and Geekery, and you should check that. You should totally check that out over on YouTube and see all of his unboxings videos therein.
You should, and you will see there's a lot less editing on those videos on my channel than I put into this one, which I don't know why.
Do you know what it is? It's the amount of stuff that we do for this one show a week that it's like I can't be bothered with anything else.
I know, that's exactly what it is. I bought a figure, guys, that's going to be, spoiler alert, it's going to be on my channel and probably next week on this one, the Shazam one.
Nice.
I can't take out the package, so like, I don't know.
You really want it, I can tell. Like,
yeah, but I can't because look at it's this just absolute. I hate this kind of packaging because you can't open it without destroying that, and because like with the others, I've shown them off and then they've gone back in the box and they get hung on my wall. I can't do that with these ones unless like I don't know, like I take a knife to the back of it or something and then glue it. But that's like.
But then you've still knackered the box then, so
yeah, exactly. So I don't know what fucking camera angle I'm doing for this. Maybe you fucking which don't really work. Not really with the amount of fucking
glare.
Yeah. So next week's probably be a bit shit.
Well, the week after is going to be really awesome because the week after is going to be after myself and Ruben Fage are visiting York, and all our segments are going to be in there. So,
look what I've just seen.
You're going to get a collectible hunting of us wandering around York. Oh no, it's already ripped.
I ain't even done that, bastard.
Oh man. Ooh. But yeah, because to be fair, when me and Ruko and you take us to Travelling Man and all those other places that you used on the video last week, all of our segments are going to be like, right, this is the comic of the week, and we're both just going to be sat there like, here it is. But yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty sure we've only got like 2 or 3 segments left, so we may as well cut to another one, and we'll go to the greatest graphic novel guide now. Whip.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 3 of the Greatest Graphic Novel Guide. I'm your host Rory Bailey, and this week I'm going to be talking about Redmoon by Mina Wang. Now, as you can see from the video, there are 6 volumes here. These are the only 6 that have been translated to English, as this was, well, we'll bring this up on there. This was originally published in the 80s and such, and only 6 were translated, which is a shame because it's a really, really good story. The Producer Comics one is one that I've hardly seen much by, to be honest, but yeah, it's a great story, really, and a great graphic novel. Artwork's brilliant, as you can see, very obviously manga-ish, but the plot follows a high school kid called Filler, who has an accident, busts open his head, and it awakens like an extra sort of being inside of him called Filaro, who has great power and had strength, all this sort of stuff, and leads an extraterrestrial race as their Redmoon. So he's the titular Redmoon, and as you can see from some of these covers, there are no end of other sort of characters that are trying to awaken him. Some are protectors and that sort of thing, but it's pretty good. Annoyingly, there's a major cliffhanger with volume 5, and then volume 6 is sort of like a prequel to everything, and because nothing else got translated, I've no idea how it actually turned out, which is a shame. But it's a very, very good book, very, very good series as a whole, and I'd highly recommend it. It's going to be very difficult to come by. I mean, I've got these 6 by luck, and pure luck only, and I essentially read volumes 1 and 2 when I'd gone to like some library somewhere with with an X, and that was, you know, I had a bit of time to kill. This was when I was probably about 15 or something. I'm now 35, and read the first two, thought they were great, and then never saw them in the comic shop or anything. Looked out from quite a bit, and then I went to Amsterdam for a weekend and found all 6 volumes for like the equivalent of about £3 each. So I've had these since I was 18, and I bought them in Amsterdam. So, you know, fun times. But yeah, it's a really great series. Highly recommend it. There was at one point in the early 2000s, there was an online RPG also called Redmoon, which was set in this world. And I believe you can still get copies of it, but the servers are like bare bones at the moment. So yeah, so that's it for this week, and I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you all next time.
Okay, so that was the greatest graphic novel guide.
Fuck the graphic novel guide. I got it out.
It is myself.
I got it out, guys. Without ripping the packaging. I'm a fucking genius. Fuck the graphic novels.
If anything, that should give you a reason to yell Shazam.
Look, I yelled at enough in life that Hannah's really upset with me in the bedroom.
Do you know what? I've done that as well. You just can't help it. Look.
I know. She said it once and I ended up in prison.
Oh, fucking hell.
Whip.
So Shazam backwards is Mazash, and I think we know someone who should do that if it turns him into a big muscly girl.
I used to know a Mazash. He was a doorman. Not even kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I worked in a nightclub and he was a doorman there. The best
According
part
to the
is,
Shazam graphic novels, if they do the magic word backwards, they lose all power.
the best part is his mum was Bengali.
Yeah.
His dad was from Leeds.
Nice. And they still called him Mazash.
Yeah, because to be fair, he came out and he looked like his mum, so fair enough. You know, she wanted, but so it was like his name was Mazash Jordan. His last name was Jordan. And I met him, and he's like,
And I bet he had a proper Leeds accent and stuff as well, did he?
oh, he sounded more northern than me.
Nice.
It's beautiful. Comics.
Thwip. Mazash.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
So, by the way, guys, we've just had a discussion off camera. Head to head.
Yeah.
It's going to be separate. It makes life easier.
Purely because when we've done the segments when we did that first segment, it went on for 20 minutes. And then we were working out a format for it, and then it makes more sense for it to just be its own little show, which we'll be slapping on YouTube because, to be honest, there's only 2 shows that go on there regularly, soon to be 3 with yours. Or is yours going on your channel? We haven't quite discussed the logistics.
No, it's going on yours.
Oh, all right, sound fair enough.
If you look at the image I sent you,
yeah.
If you look at the bottom right corner, you'll see.
Ah, cool. Fair enough. But
teasing it. Ooh.
I know.
Back from the dead. That's what's going on, guys.
Yeah, definitely. So, and showing, you know, the outwork everyone, the motif for the rest of the contributors. There are still other contributors. You wouldn't know, but there are allegedly. There's people that haven't left yet.
There's someone coming back as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's good. But we've got
the levels are as well.
And we had friend requests from previous contributors who also probably want to come back, but I've ignored those friend requests. You're welcome, Dave. If you're watching this with one of your fake profiles, then
So weird.
I'm not accepted it.
The thing is, and I'm aware that this is like our professional show, but we mentioned him, so we've already passed the line. So we've already crossed the line, so I might as well just run fucking away from it. I might as well make sure that line is fucking a dot in the sand. Genuinely, I don't think he had any malice in sending you that friend request because you can just send message requests.
Yeah, that's true.
So like, I know I take the piss, but I don't think he was doing it to just like have a go because he could have just messaged you anyway as a message request.
That's true.
You'd have had to accept the message request just like you'd have had to accept the friend request. Maybe he's lonely. Maybe filming.
Maybe he's watched some of this very show and thought, you know what? I'd like to have a go on that. That's his actual voice. That's why we recently had to wear a mask and not talk.
Come in, I'll fucking stab you. I'll stab you. I'm going to get some fucking chicken, lad.
Oh dear. Wonderful times.
We do have another segment after this as well.
We do. We should probably go to it.
Yeah, we've already jumped off. It's going down. We've got a segment. We'll come back semi-professional.
Yeah. This is the Indie Comic Showcase. In fact, last week where we did this, last episode we got to this point and we ended up berating someone else because of this segment. So anyway, here's the Indie Comic Showcase.
Shazam!
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Indie Comic Showcase. This week's edition is going to be focusing on Beyond the End of My Street by Lee H.H. Cope. We're going to mainly be talking about issue 1 because, spoilers and that sort of thing. The whole run is going to be 8 issues long. Obviously there's 7 of them here, as you can see on the screen. And issue 8 is due out shortly, within the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, let's have a look at the first one. So, it's written and illustrated by Lee H.H. Cope, who has given it a very, very nice noir sort of style. It's a very decent horror comic and such. As you can see, the artwork is very unique and everything, which is cool. And the first issue focuses on the stories of Amos and Elias Rhymes and their friendship as children in what's essentially ends up becoming like a very horrific sort of setting. But it's a really good thing. Some of the visuals are awesome, as you can see from here. And yeah, there is some cool stuff going on in there. Definitely worth a read, and also worth picking up the rest of the series. But yeah, and at the end he does a very nice little wrap up thing where he's giving you the guide on who all the characters are, which is cool. I'm trying to go through these fast so that, again, no spoilers, but it's essentially a very good horror comic book series. You can pick it up from his Facebook page, which is down as either Corona Comics or Beyond the End of My Street. He's got them for both. Or you can find them directly at Lee H.H. Cope, and I know he's selling everything individually that way. Pretty sure they're on eBay too. But yeah, it's a good series. Definitely worth picking up if you fancy reading some indie horror comics, and if you want to support an indie creator. So yeah, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Okay, so that was the Indie Comic Showcase. We have got some guests planned for future episodes. Unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, the one that we had planned for this week's episode, we've had to push back to next week, and that's on my part due to working and that sort of thing, and just the joys of life getting in the way. So we will have a guest next week. I'm not dropping the name just yet because, again, could get cancelled because of how it's been cancelled this week. So anyway, we have got an open invite to anyone who's worked on any comic project that would like to come on and chat about their stuff. Just hit us up in our messages, drop us a comment and all that sort of stuff, and you can come and have your indie comic spotlighted within reason, because there's certain people that we just wouldn't accept based on their outdated racist views, which happens to be a large percentage of the online comics community, which is quite worrying. But let's not talk about Pops and his political agendas, and and let's wrap this up because it's been a great show, and it's been an awesome chat. It's been a very good show. We've talked very on topic. Yeah, we have. We've talked very in depth. We've tangented a bit, but we also managed to keep a lot of our tangents between the little breaks we take, which is good because it means less waffling for you guys. That's true. Less likely to be sued. Yes, it's been a pleasure. It has, and one of the things, the only regret I have about tonight's show is that we didn't really speak that much about Ultimate X-Men, which, as you know, is one of my passions of collectible things, because that's what I've been hunting down over the last year. So I figure since we also do the X-Men podcast that we've been taking a bit of a break on, a future episode, we'll just talk about Ultimate X-Men. That's fine.
We could just do that next week, to be fair.
I mean, we could, yeah. We could just do the Ultimates part 2 because this has been a fun chat today. So, solid. We'll do that on episode 4 of the Team Venom Comics show. Is going to be about Ultimate X-Men and X-Men in general and other such tangents that we will probably go off on. So, thank you all for watching. Connor, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
And yeah, if you're enjoying this, please remember to like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, catch you all next time.